Hi everyone, this is Jonathan with Underpromoted, and today I'm very happy to be interviewing Irina Bulmaga. She is a Moldovan-born Romanian player. She's an IM, currently in the top 50 women's, and she's been playing a lot over the years. And one very interesting thing about her is that she has a great blog that she's been keeping since she was a teenager, and so that's not only a great way to learn about her chess games and tournaments, but also her um, thoughts and her development as a person. In terms of her chess, she's very active. She's played a lot of rapid and blitz events as well as classical. This year, she won second place in the European Women's Chess Championship. So she's a very active player, and she'll be playing in the Grand Swiss in Samarkand in September. So please follow her there, and I'll also link her blog and social media in the description. So Irina, today I have a little bit different format. Most of the time, my guests don't have any blog or social media, so I try to do more biographical questions. But since you have such a great blog, I thought I went back and looked at some of the posts from over 10 years ago and wrote down some of the insights about chess or about you, the type of person you want to become, and kind of wanted to hear about how your thoughts have changed or stayed the same now. So the first question is for a chess player, life, there's lots of ups and downs with tournament wins and losses. How have those changed for you? And so I've included a few blog excerpts for you to read from when you were a kid um, and feeling happy or sad about games.
Yeah, well, it was interesting for me to go through some of my older posts, and I can definitely see that I used to be more tempered and stuff like that. So I was reacting in a really emotional way to all of the losses or good results. I think that that changed in me over the years, and it actually took quite a lot of work because at some point I realized that I cannot suffer so much after a loss or after a bad tournament, because if I want to have a long career, then it is simply not doable. So basically, I think that I'm a more balanced person now, both emotionally. Okay, probably most importantly, emotionally. Yeah, and I think that's basically what changed. Yeah.
Do you think it works out like that for most professional players? You said in order to have a long career, you have to be able to manage those. You can't be suffering all the time because you underperformed or something. But I also saw you had made a blog post on the day after Alexander Yakin's birthday where you talked about how maybe many chess players struggle with addictions because they have to handle the suffering.
Yeah, well, I think that basically there are persons who are born more balanced, and it's easier for them to cope. It might also be something about how they were brought up and how much pressure they felt as kids, or maybe it's also about some traits of character. Some people are just not getting so overly excited or overly disappointed. But yeah, for me, it was, I think, one of the biggest things which held me back for many years, because I have always been at the top as a junior player in my age categories, but I never managed to get medals, which was very frustrating, and I would usually spoil it at the end when the pressure was the highest. And it took me many, many years of work, and I think that's something which many federations could improve on, like helping out players with working with sports psychologists, because like right now, okay, this year, let's say, or was it maybe last year, it was, I had the opportunity to talk to some sports psychologist, and I understood that I've already done that whole work, which actually required maybe one would require 1 or 2 sessions, because there is just the need to ask the correct questions, and then you realize, like for example, he asked me when you go to a game, like to a very important game, why do you think it's you who deserve to win? Because both you and your opponent came to this moment, so both of you did something very good, so you must be strong players. Why do you assume that it is you who has to win? So putting it in the perspective like that, yeah, it's something which I also came to that conclusion, but
Really?
after too much time, yeah.
Yeah. So if a federation could introduce that earlier, it's like you can save a lot of trial and error, right?
Yeah, I think so. A lot of turmoil and, yeah, a lot of unnecessary sleepless nights, maybe.
Yeah, it's interesting because, when you're young, maybe your chess results are the least important because you're not depending on them for your livelihood and your, more professional opportunities. And now it's the reverse where it's the most important, but now you've gotten better at handling it, even though the pressure is bigger, right?
Yeah, that's true. The pressure is in a way higher because now it's also the financial stuff which I should worry of. Yeah, so as a kid there were my parents to rely on, but later on I had to support myself. So yeah, sometimes it's more pressure when on your last game result. It depends how you live the next few months.
Yeah. But yeah, you still have hopefully a pretty long career. Like Humpy, she's got a lot of great results recently, and she's, I think close to 40. So you have, a decade of having your good psychology and experience to play with.
I hope so.
Yeah. Um, there's another thing, let me just read it, that you wrote. I've just read an interview of Garry Kasparov where he said it's possible to be a very good chess player only when chess equals life. Hanging out during tournaments, having all kinds of worries, it's not professional. Um, I think, and then you say that you think he's right. If to analyze my best and worst results so far, I had my best results when being totally focused on chess, not thinking about exams or anything else. Um, so now, do you feel like, where do you feel like you are on that spectrum?
I really think that I became like that chess equals life to me. And that is also something interesting I discovered while reading my earlier posts, is that in a way all I wished for basically came true. Maybe not like I pictured it, like maybe I pictured myself being a world champion or, an even stronger player. But in a way, those things like being a professional chess player, being able to support myself, finding friends who are like-minded, and basically living a sort of balanced chess life, I think I got there. And what I was saying about the tournaments, I think it is still very true, and I really think that it's very precious, that mindset, which when I'm able to get to, I'm performing well. So like when I go to a tournament, it's really important for me not to have any other things to worry about. I don't know, some, just day by day things. Not to worry that something at home isn't right, not to worry that I don't answer a phone call or something. So yeah, I'm usually able these days to get to that mindset when I'm traveling to important tournaments, and I can see that when I'm getting there, I'm performing well.
Yeah. Yeah, I was talking with Zhu Chen, and she is saying, strong players, a lot of times they have a big team, not only seconds, but like someone to deal with food and transportation and like everything. And so then you can just think about chess, and that's your only job. Um, not even, it's not just you need people to help you prepare openings, but people to take care of everything else in life for you, right?
Yeah, definitely. That's very important. And I'm lucky to have a partner in life who took upon himself many of these things, so that I can solely focus on playing when I'm at tournaments. And also, I find it very important that during tournaments, I was also speaking to some other professional players and friends, that you keep a positive attitude, you know. So that's also part of it, to be able to surround yourself with people who only bring up positive emotions in you. And it's very nice when you are doing it both ends, yeah. So like it's the same for one another. So on this way, I'm also very grateful to have met such friends.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I included this post, but I read one where you said sometimes your friends ask you why you still look happy when you have a losing position. And you said, I don't see the point of showing everyone that I'm sad. It's better to be happy.
Well, I'm not sure how that works out these days, because on most photos of myself from the chessboard, I'm usually looking very sad, and I was thinking that maybe it's something I should work on. But then, okay, if that's how I look, I mean, what can I do about it?
Yeah. How do you think you're able to find those good friends, friends who also understand chess and the sacrifice you need to make for it, but also care about friendships and having a good attitude and all those other things?
Well, I can only say how it worked out for me. I don't have too many friends, but the ones I have, I really trust them, and I hope that they do feel the same. But how I got here was that I simply was exactly as I am, you know. So in the beginning, maybe when I was younger, I was creating basically an image of whom I want to be or to become, and I was acting according to it. But then at some point I realized that maybe that's why there are people who don't really understand me, because they see me as who I want to be and not who I am. And then I realized that, okay, my flaws are here to stay with me, and it saves much energy both for me and for the people around to basically just be who I am. And if even that's something which makes someone unhappy, okay, then it's basically how it is, and maybe we are not meant to be friends, or, you know, like, I think that it actually filtered a lot of unnecessary, you know, emotions and efforts and stuff like that.
Mm. And then let's say you passed the first stage where you filtered out some people you don't naturally get along with, and you find some people that can be your friends, even with maybe you're both traveling a lot. Sometimes one person has a good result, other person has a bad result. Sometimes you compete together. What kind of work do you have to do to maintain and develop that friendship?
Well, yeah, it's indeed a difficult question, because sometimes you play for national teams and your opponents, and then you cannot make a quick draw or something, you know, like there are moments like that. And yeah, then basically it is something which we discussed, and we thought that, okay, it is just a chess game, no matter who wins or loses. I will leave you alone, or you will leave me alone, you know, for like one day after the game, and then we can simply resume being friends. That's part of the job. Nothing to do, I think, about it.
Wow, that sounds very professional. Great. Well, another question I had was about what you think about your identity as a professional chess player. And so, earlier on in your life, it was probably like a professional identity. You're deciding to go to college or to just play chess, and then you thought, okay, I'll go to university, but that's my backup plan. I would still like to be a professional chess player. And now you are a professional chess player, which is great, and your childhood self will be very happy. But now, how does it feel because it is a game and there's ups and downs. How have you thought about that?
Well, that's a very good question, because it's something which has been on my mind a lot lately. especially since this silver medal I got at the European Women's Championship. And it really was something which I wanted so much for so many years, to get this continental individual gold, because like there were some team medals I got and so on, but it was the first one which was just mine, and I felt like it was achieved only like with, okay, not only of course, but mainly with my efforts. And somehow I felt, to be honest, a bit disappointed and in a way even depressed, because I expected more, like there were, of course, there was a lot of attention, interviews and blah blah blah, but basically that was about it, there wasn't some I don't know, some prize or some extra support or some improvement of some conditions. So basically, like, what is my question to myself, and I still don't have a good answer to it, I believe, is why I put all these efforts into chess when I could probably just do the same efforts, and choose something else, something which would give me, let's say, a stable income and some retirement backups and things. And why do I choose to continue living like that, when basically I will have still to answer those questions when I retire as a professional chess player? Because okay, there is no pension or some special salary which I would get. Okay, in some countries they do have that, but it's mostly still an exception, because chess isn't an Olympic sport, so it really depends. Like in Europe, I think there are very few countries who offer that to their chess players when they retire. And then, okay, the only answer is because I enjoy it, yeah. So I'm choosing to do something which I love and enjoy, and sometimes, when I'm trying to be objective, it feels like it's not exactly the best course of action for myself. Just, if I want to have a stable future, or, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is obviously, it's something that's really enjoyable to you, but also, you're a professional player. And so I think there are the expectations. If you perform well, it can be more stable. There's more national or federation support. And so, I don't know, it's tricky.
Yeah, it is. And, in a way I'm looking at it because, in Romania, as a chess federation, things improved a lot in the past few years. And, in a way I want to encourage the generations which are growing up now, especially women, yeah, because I'm a woman. So in the end, I want to see more little girls who would want to choose this as a career. And I actually have connection with some parents, have some talented kids and so on, because they want to ask some questions, some advice and stuff like that. And I feel, a little bit strange, because in a way I want to encourage them. In another way, I'm thinking that I don't know how it will be. I mean, I suppose it will be better for them, now that things are going up and the support is getting better, but still I'm not sure if it's enough, and I won't want to be a hypocrite, and to say, yeah, that's a very good career. Please encourage your daughters to choose it. But yeah, I feel a little bit contradictory feelings on that part.
Yeah. Do you still enjoy chess as much? Here, let me read something else that you wrote, and this is in 2013. Have you ever used chess as the last resort of getting better? It is an interesting thing. When something goes wrong and I'm down, I always use chess in order to get back to normal. When it seems that nothing can make me feel better, I lose myself in chess, and it always saves me. So that sounds
Yes.
great.
Well, I think it is still the case for me. Okay, now maybe I have some other also interests and hobbies which get me in a good place when I'm in a bad one. So maybe reading and writing is also something which came to be closely as enjoyable to chess, but still chess is the thing which I enjoy most in life. And like this year started very tough for me with this very bad result in Vaikanzeya. So it was really a moment when I was asking myself that perhaps my brain cannot function anymore like it used to. So maybe that's a good moment, to choose to focus on something else. And yeah. But then I took it slowly. I simply allowed myself time to get better. I did the things which I liked the most, and somehow I regained the pleasure of working on chess, of playing, So I think, okay, I don't know, maybe for other people it comes naturally, but I'm usually very hard on myself. So learning to be kinder to myself is maybe something which was important to me.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's also very difficult that chess, it's a great enjoyment for you, but it can also be a big disappointment for every chess player. And especially you feel like it's your own fault or, you did something wrong.
But I
So,
think that's also something which makes chess so great, because basically at the end of a game or at the end of a tournament, there is no one to blame except yourself. So you really know that it is you who made some mistakes, and basically being able to look at them objectively, to analyze them, makes a whole lot of difference. Yeah, you cannot say that my team played badly, I don't know, or something like that. It is
yeah.
always about yourself in the end.
hmm It is funny. I think I've heard someone say before, to win a tournament, you always have to be a little bit lucky, as in maybe someone else doesn't play so well, or somewhere else in the bracket something happens. But then for you, it's like you can't make any mistakes. And so it's an interesting blend. You feel responsibility, and you also feel this is part. When other people play bad, it's just, maybe you're good luck or unlucky for them.
Well, like I think that this thing with luck, okay, I understand it, and it happened to me also. Like at this European Championship, I was lucky in more than one game. But then I feel that somehow you attract it by, doing something, some little extra. For example, I was putting myself more into fighting mode in a way, like, let's say I wouldn't just take a draw in a position which objectively maybe a draw would be the best outcome. I would continue to play it, So many of those games I did win in the end. And I feel that it's always something little you do which attracts the luck on your side.
Yeah. Well, it can't be wrong to say you have to play as hard as you can and try, the most. Um, yeah, thinking about assessing yourself and um, your performance where you're at right now, I feel like for chess players, it's always like if you come off a bad tournament, then you feel terrible. And then if you come off a good tournament, you feel like you're doing things right. Thinking about the next few years or the past few years and competing, how are you? How do you assess yourself in your career?
Well, again, a tough question. But yeah, one which I also ask myself. And I was just discussing now at the Turkish League with some friends and colleagues that with years, sometimes your rating doesn't necessarily improve, but you still feel like you play better than you used to. And that's my feeling in some way, that there are many things which I improved on. Although I think that again, with some better guidance or being able to understand things faster, I could have got here earlier. But I think that I'm happy with where I am right now in terms of playing chess, and the thing which I'm most happy about is that I enjoy the working process, so I really like the trainings. I'm happy that I get this chance. Well, this is something which actually I have to thank the Romanian Chess Federation for, that I got the chance to work with very good coaches hired by the federation, and it is an amazing, really amazing opportunity. And I think that maybe if I would get it when I was like 20, I'm sure it would have made the whole lot of difference. But even now, I think that I'm moving into a good direction with my chess.
Yeah. I heard an interview you did a few years ago with Ben Johnson from Perpetual Chess, and you mentioned for many years you mostly worked alone, and you always found it difficult to work with a coach, or didn't find the right coach. But then you had found a coach that you really enjoyed working with. Can you explain for everyone, we're not professional chess players, what makes it different? Or because it sounds obvious, right, to have a coach, right? All athletes, they have a coach. But for a chess player, can you explain both the chess parts and also the non-chess parts about working with a coach?
Yeah, sure. Like for me, as you mentioned, because I was used to working alone mostly, the biggest thing, like the most important thing, which is about a coach to me, is that he or she inspires me to work even more on chess. So that after a chess training, I feel enthusiasm and I feel motivated to look on more materials and to train even more. And that is something which, I can give names. So like Ivan Sokolov, a lot of people know him as a great coach who worked with top teams and top players. And that is something which I really appreciate about him, is that he has this great work ethics and also this way of inspiring people. So for me, of course, we do a lot of important chess work, like working on the games which went wrong for me, seeing why did that happen. Then some opening stuff, which, sometimes as a very active player, you don't have necessarily the whole amount of time like to look what happened in all those tournaments which are going. And of course you try to keep an eye on that, and sometimes you catch a nice idea or you come up with it. But then when you work with a coach whose job is doing that mainly, then of course it is much easier to have all of those interesting ideas. So I think that if one has the opportunity to work with a coach, then mainly I think that that coach should resonate with you as a personality and with your principles and values, basically. Because, with somebody it's important, let's say, to be, like for me, to be inspired and to be enthusiastic. For others, it's important something else, maybe. So, I think basically finding this right person is very important.
Mm-hmm. And for inspiring you, do you feel like it's because the coach reminds you about, chess is very interesting, or that you want to work harder, or you have more potential? Like, what is it exactly?
I think maybe it is a mix of both, because I feel that he genuinely believes that I could be a better player. And, it's not enough when somebody just tells you, I know that you can become a GM or something. When you really feel that during the training process, when the coach treats you, basically as an equal, that's something which, I was very worried before working with Ivan, because he worked with so many great top players. And I thought, I'm like at least 300 elo points lower rated than them. Probably it will feel bad for him to work with me, who, offers some strange ideas or unoptimal moves, But then what I appreciated was that he always treated any move which I offered simply as a move, So he would answer to it chess-wise, prove it right or wrong, So basically it was simply a very healthy, I think, working process. And that's something which I enjoy.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, it really feels, I mean, even though you're still young, but for a chess player, you've had already a long career, and it sounds like, you can look back and think about what you wish for the young girls in Romania, right? Whether to take this path or not, whether they can have a coach and all these opportunities. And you also mentioned a sports psychologist. Could you talk a little bit more about the role they could play in chess? I also, like Jovanka, she mentioned kind of a sports psychologist that she worked with. So what are some of the things that they help with? Or what are some of the problems chess players can have when they try to figure it out on their own?
Yeah, well, like I told you, there were not many new things I learned, but probably just because I spent all those hours and days trying to figure it out myself, and somehow I got to those answers, even though it was a too long way. So basically, there were a few things. One of them is how to be able to keep calm and objective in a very important moment, like in a very important game. That was something which I struggled with, like adrenaline and emotions were overtaking, and I couldn't, like physically, I would feel different. Yeah, so I wouldn't be able to calculate everything the way that I should be able to, and stuff like that. So there were some actually quite easy things which had to be changed. Like, for example, for me it was thinking before of that game what would be the worst scenario, and just understanding that it wouldn't be a real tragedy if that would happen. So like just thinking, okay, if I lose this game, it will basically just be another loss in my career. Yeah, there will be many of them. So just treating it as not something so important, but just like just another game, basically. So that in that way it helped me. Also, there were some exercises like which one could do during a game, like some breathing exercises, which helps you, because sometimes you cannot really when you are in time trouble, or there is no time to think too much about how to calm yourself down. And if you have the solution right next to you, like do some 3 breathing exercises, it actually makes a whole lot of difference. It physically puts you in a much better spot than you used to be. And I think probably that's the most important thing which comes to my mind.
Yeah. Thinking about the future, when you're young, you made lists sometimes. This is what I accomplished this year. This is what I want to do next year. And it's very concrete. It's like rating points, titles, certain championships. But now, how do you think about your goals? Or, how do you set them? What do they look like?
Well, yeah, it's interesting that I think I have come to a point when the most important goal for me is, as I said, to enjoy the process of working and to keep finding joy in chess, so that the tournaments make me content, the trainings and so on. So I think that is actually, I come to understand that this is my goal, to be able to keep that sentiment. And like there's always something you want in terms of chess tournaments and stuff like that. Yeah, for example, now the Grand Swiss is coming. Of course, I do want to perform well, but I also want to, to be happy about the trainings, which I will do before the tournament comes, to be happy about how I approach the tournament, about how, I keep, if I'm able to get into that mindset, which I was mentioning to you right during the tournament. So, I think that this, just not by setting a too high, not even too high goal, just not by setting some very strict goal, but by setting these achievable ones, which you can definitely do no matter if you play good or bad. It's much easier psychologically to be in a good place, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, you sound very mature. Like when you're young, you just want to go fast and go high. And now it's also every day, the everyday process of training, you also want to do that well. Um,
Well, yeah, this one is a game from the last round of the Purtici Open in Corsica last year when I had a very good result. I was able to not lose any game, and I made, I think, 5 draws with 5 grandmasters and 4 wins with other players. Yeah. And approaching like the last game, I was sharing the first place, and I knew that if I would hold the draw, most likely I will be sharing one of the first 3 places. So, but I was black, yeah, so playing against a gem with black can be a little bit stressful, especially in a morning round, as it was the case there. And I am... Okay, even though it might look like an uneventful game, I am quite proud of it. We can go through the first moves. I chose to play the Berlin, knight f6, yeah, and he chose the endgame line, which was a surprise to me. But yeah, if we will continue a few more moves, I was very happy about the way I was able to think schematically. In this game, like where should I put my pawns, which pieces I need to trade. And a few moves later, after rook d1, knight d4, knight f5, yeah, he went back, we traded. There was one important moment when I played c5, I think, bishop c5, sorry. Yeah, yeah, it was on move 27. So after rook h8, c4, yeah, like here, because the most natural move instead of bishop to c5 was to push the pawn there to play c5, yeah. But and I think it's actually computer's first line to play this move. Okay, it is up there, yeah. And bishop c5 is not the best move, but I think from the human point of view, it was a very good choice because, like, basically I needed to understand that in order to make progress for white, they would need to trade the bishops, put the rook on h1 eventually, and push g4. Because if the king would be on f3 and rook would still be on d1 when pushing g4, it would allow my rook entering the on h2, yeah. So that was the only way not to get counterplay. And then I realized that if my pawns on the queen side are blocked, then the pawn endgame is simply drawn, even though there will be a free against 2 on the king side. And basically that's how the game ended. We can simply go to the last position. I think it ended in a stalemate somewhere. Yeah. So basically when choosing that bishop c5, I had to understand that this is what I'm aiming for. And that's why I didn't choose to push the pawn, because if the pawn would be on b6 and the other one on c5 in this position, then I would be simply lost, yeah? So, and somehow it was a decision which I really loved, that I was able to take, that I could think not even so many moves ahead, but just think about patterns and ask myself some questions, because so many times you just rely on your calculation or, you know, some principles, but here it was just about thinking, you know, like, yeah. And I really loved this moment, and I was also very happy to be able to become second in an open, not in a women's event. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think a lot of times in chess we always talk about the best move. Um, and so it feels like you don't have many choices. It's more about you being able to identify the optimal way to play. But in this case, it sounds like you had the chance to kind of step out of your computer, brain and think, I want to play it this way. Did you feel like at the time, what did you think about c5? Did you think, okay, maybe that's like the most principled move, but I don't think I need to play it?
Okay, I understood that c5 would involve some amount of suffering, basically, because it is a position where white can try several ways, yeah? So white can try to trade rooks, and that is actually something which I didn't like, because I thought that the bishop endgame would be lost. Apparently the computer believes that white is not able to achieve that, but as a human being I didn't feel confident in that. So I felt like c5 is very natural, yeah, because you get this feeling from experience, and intuition is somehow coming in the picture. But then I was able to somehow take it differently, and this bishop c5 idea came to my mind. And when I realized that the pawn endgame would be drawn, I just had to make it work. Yeah, so I just had to understand that there is no other way for white to make progress than to indeed go to that pawn endgame.
Okay, so last question, I thought just for fun. I sent you a list of your favorite songs. Well, supposedly your favorite songs on your iPod from 2012. Do you still listen to any of these?
Yeah, I actually still listen to a lot of them. Like, for example, all these rock songs, they are still among my favorites, because I actually have a funny story to share, if you'd like,
Please.
about how I got into rock music. It's also connected to chess. So when I was, I think I was playing under 12, it was like 2005, I traveled to France to some tournaments with my mother. And the first one was an open, and then the second one had to be the World Youth Championship. So at that open I won some prize, and that prize was a cassette player because back then they were still a thing. And I didn't have obviously any cassettes with me, because yeah, why would I need them? And then somebody was dropping us at a train station, and he had a lot of cassettes in the car. And he said, okay, why don't you take this cassette? And it was one of Deep Purple. So basically for the next 2 weeks of that World Youth Championship, I was listening only to Deep Purple, because I had only one cassette. My mom was not very happy about it, because she's not exactly one who enjoys rock. But that's how I got into it, and Deep Purple is probably still one of my favorite bands. Like all these songs, Anya, Smoke on the Water, yeah. Anyone's Daughter I haven't listened to in a while, I will have to do that. But also Nirvana, yeah, AC/DC, Phil Collins, some Russian bands I see. Yeah, I think mostly not too much has changed, though there are also some other music styles which I like to listen to. Like, for example, I really like classical music as well these days, especially when I want to be in a meditative or writing mood. So, yeah.
Any specific composer?
Well, I think I'm very much into Beethoven. It's maybe a bit depressive, but also it usually goes well with my mood.
Do you like the quartets or the orchestra or piano?
Well, it really depends on how I feel, because some days I feel like listening to piano more. Some days I like to listen to violin. Like, for example, nowadays I am very into listening to violin. Orchestra, okay, not so much. I think I like when I listen just to one instrument more.
Yeah, your story about rock music, it sounds like before we had Chessable and everything, maybe you go to the library and there's a couple opening books, so that's the opening you play. It's because that's all you have.
Yes, basically that is how it happened. Yeah.
Right. Well, thanks so much for being willing to do this interview. I know you're competing a lot, and I really appreciate finding some time to do this.
Thank you for the interview. I really enjoyed it.